There he is. That's a good start. Here we go. Those hybrid trebles. Nice, pretty, look at that line. Real beautiful dark line on them. And the little jabberjaw. Nice fish. For starters, I'll take that any day. They're just coming up and touching it. That's why it's important to have a darn good hook on your square bill, because there's another one. It's a smaller guy, but still a fish nonetheless. And you can see kind of behind me, they got some beautiful cedars back here, and they kind of relate to wood and rock along this stretch, which is perfect cover for bass and perfect cover for a square bill such as that. You know, there's a lot of ways you can fish a square bill, and I'm not usually one to burn a square bill. I kind of like fishing them sort of methodically and short roll casts, which is, you know, you can kind of pitch and flip this thing into little pockets and bounce it off a rock and wood and stop it, start it, and you can burn it pretty fast if you really want to cover some water. But when it comes to square bills, for me, I love to just kind of worm them, bounce them off anything I can. I'm almost always looking to bounce it off of something one way or another. Has that metal lip on it, so if I do get a little, you know, if I get a little bunched up on grass, I can, you know, load up into it. Either it'll crawl its way out, or I can just give it a good rip. With that being said, I keep my drag fairly tight. This isn't the fastest rod in the world, but I also like to, when I'm dealing with treble hooks on a bait, you know, if they come up and if they're on the square bill and they're just eating it, it doesn't, you know, you can just wind into them and load up on them. But, you know, it all depends. You kind of have to feel your way through that situation, because if they're clobbering it, yeah, I like to jack them, because there's a lot of hooks on it. There's a little guy right there. See, I kind of brought that quick and he chased it out and ate it. But you can see the hook set's not, you know, depending on how they hit it, will be kind of what dictates my hook set. If they're getting after it, I'll jack them. I'm not too worried about, you know, tearing hooks out, because it's a small compact bait and it doesn't take much of a largemouth to put that whole thing in their mouth. But the reason I will also kind of jack them on a square bill is you have 6 points there. Yeah, they're really sharp, but if they eat the whole thing, there's a lot of hook there that you have to penetrate. So I'm not afraid to set the hook. As long as I know they're eating it well and they get it, I'll smoke them. If they're just coming up and touching it, yeah, kind of wind into them and load them up and work them back to the boat. But if you're getting a lot of hook, you know, if they're coming up and really chewing on it, I like to lay the wood to them, because you're looking at 6 hook points to, you know, you're not going to penetrate all 6, but you at least want one good hook, right? So I'll smoke them on a square bill. It's not a big bait. They get the whole thing in their mouth. You got a lot of hook there to penetrate into their face. So that kind of goes with the day and how they're eating the bait, like I said. And you can see there's a lot of laydowns in here. And that's the other thing about getting after those fish. Once you get them hooked up, I want to get them out and coming away from the cover as quickly as I can. So I'll lean on them. It's really important, I think, is to fish it in the right conditions. Yeah, I'm sure you could catch a fair number of fish in clear water, but this is darker water, darker, dirtier. It's kind of a tannicky water. And noise has a big part in this, and the way this bill will knock back and forth. Otherwise, it's silent, you know, so you just kind of have that knocking of the bill and then whatever sound the hooks give off, you know. but it's just that hard, that's kind of basically like a single knocker. And in this dirty water, you know, it's pretty, you know, I think it's a good way that draws the attention of the fish to that bait, because it's pretty loud. And in darker water, sometimes that's what you want, you know. You can fish it fast and make it aggressive, but if you're just crawling it, worming it like I am, it's pretty subtle bait. Oh gosh, huge one. Right out of the wood. They're definitely relating to this wood. Oh man, look at that. Not a huge one, but holy smokes, does he have a face full of that thing. I mean, ate it. That's what I mean, like when they eat it like that, there's a lot of hook points that you want to try and, you know, when I set the hook, I want to hit them hard, because there's a lot of points to drive home. And if you just sometimes when they bite it like that, they grab on so hard that when they try to extract the bait from their mouth, a lot of times, like when you're leaning into them, it just springs right out of their mouth. So when you're able to hit them, the likelihood of, I need a set of pliers, but the likelihood of actually getting multiple hooks into their mouth, because I mean, they have some hard, bony mouths. So the likelihood of actually jacking them, you know, of getting those hooks in by jacking them, you're going to penetrate hooks, you know. See, there's 2 hooks there, and then there's some tail from the tail, they're down in there too. So fish is no worse for the wear, no blood, we're good to go. There. Nice, no worse for the wear. Oh, there he is. Right at the boat. Hold on now. Don't do me like that. No, stop. Quit. Alright. That's the one cool thing about this, is I just love plowing into everything and anything. That's the nature of fishing a squarebill, is you are trying to run it into a lot of things, and so having a good line is really important. Checking your knots, checking your line up from the knot. This bait is really cool because it kind of has the characteristics of a chatterbait. There's like one in particular chatterbait that I'm talking about that a lot of people are very familiar with, and that's the JackHammer. And in this type of cover and dirty water, that's the reason, I think that's one of the reasons that JackHammer is so effective, is that, you know, it calls a lot of fish to that particular bait, because it's so noisy. We have a lot of underwaters of that bait, and the amount of racket it makes in dirty water, those fish really key in on that. And this is, you know, has a lot of the same characteristics with that rattle and that knocking sound. So I think that's one of the reasons why it makes, you know, one of the reasons that this bait in particular is so dang, it's so, you know, productive. There he is. Yeehaw! They're eating it today. Front hook. There's a lot of, you know, I'm going down this bank and there's just a lot of mixed rock. You can just look at the shoreline and just see that it's, you know, littered with good largemouth cover, rock and wood. And that's one of the big holding spots to, you know, what these fish are really relating to. So being able to throw this lure up on the rocks, bouncing it off of rocks and wood and all of that is just, it's the name of the game with the squarebill. Ooh, that was so cool. Gosh, you just get it near the wood and they come unglued on that thing. Pretty bass. They're feeding up. Portly. Gosh, that's cool. Beautiful largemouth.